if you look at the spec sheets from Cargill and other manufacturers of high fructose corn syrup, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're taking corn starch, we're boiling it, we're taking this starch goop, we're throwing enzymes in there, and we're producing dextrose or glucose, a single molecule sugar. Glucose is, it doesn't have a whole lot of sweetness to it. So it's not as sweet as fructose or sucrose, table sugar, sucrose. So you make corn syrup out of and dextrose, but it's not very sweet. Well, they say, okay, we'll take these enzymes and we'll promote fructose formation. Fructose is sweeter than sucrose. It's part of sucrose and it's sweeter than glucose. So if we make a high fructose corn syrup, it's essentially making invert syrup. And we are going to approach the sweetness of table sugar. And if we make it even a little bit higher fructose corn syrup, then we can approach the sweetness of honey, which is mostly fructose. Okay? And if we approach the sweetness of honey, that means we don't have to use as much sugar as we do for sucrose in a beverage to make it as sweet. So it's lower calorie. So, it's great ideas in food engineering that gets taken out of context and blown up and made the bad guy by people that don't know science. So I find the whole argument kind of silly. So the whole corn syrup, we don't brew with corn syrup advertisement put out by Budweiser was kind of funny. They do brew with rice, obviously. And in terms of a high adjunct lager that's very well executed and very consistent all across, dozens of breweries around the country, it's damn fine brewing. So even if I happen to prefer a nice Bell Stout like this to an American light lager.
Well, it did create some wonderful discussion, so I've actually had a good time with it too. So it was a good commercial. It was very entertaining, but
it was
a bit misguided, I might say.
Yeah,
but let's get back to corn, I guess, and our other adjuncts.
Yeah, so we have all these adjuncts, and this is why breweries like Anheuser-Busch have cereal cookers in their brew house to cook the rice with malt. To allow the alpha amylase enzymes in the malt to act on those starches as they're taking it up to temperature to help these rice starches solubilize. Same thing with the corn. Now, again, corn syrup, this solubilization and conversion has been done by an outside entity, a third party such as Cargill. And so they just deliver the corn sugars, the fermentable sugars, to the brewer who adds them to the boil kettle. They don't have to put them in the mash. They don't have to spend the energy and time and mash space to do that conversion. They can allow the supplier to do that for them. So it's all fermentable sugar. It all gets fermented into our beer. All right, let me go on to the next slide. Where is that? Here we go. Here's a diagram of starch, and this is from my friend Evan Evans and Glenn Fox in Australia. And so here you have an amylose molecule. It is branched, but not as branched as an amylopectin molecule. And this is where that whole weeping willow analogy comes into. And so the amylase enzymes, here's a cross section of the endosperm of the barley kernel, and you see how they're in layers. And this is part of what modification during malting is breaking down. It's breaking down these layers and shells to make these starch granules, which if I go back to this picture, here are these starch granules in this protein matrix in the endosperm that we're trying to release.
John, are those layers sort of like a beet or a onion?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.